another portion of the vlog that is moonlighting as what I have bought, also known as a grocery haul. Let me show you what we have picked up this morning. Some of this stuff, as you already know, was not on the list that I left the house with, but my brain got to thinking while I was in the store, so a couple of things got added. I did buy the oats because we need these for the cookies. I bought 2 extra Celsius drinks because I was thinking about it. Like, girl, why have you been feeling like so tired? Like, legitimately all you're doing is baking. Baby, I have not been caffeinating myself throughout this process at all, which makes so much sense. So we got 2 extra on tap because it's not that baking is exhausting, so to speak. It's just also working at the same time, trying to feed myself actual food at the same time, keeping the kitchen clean throughout the same process, standing on my feet for what feels like forever in a day. It's a little bit much. So we're gonna add the little caffeine. We're gonna add the caffeine. I got some pecan pieces for the pecan sandies. Now look, this little bag was $6.99. And part of my spirit was like, girl, why are you buying this from this Kroger instead of going to Costco? Because I don't have time to go to Costco. And on top of that, Costco, I believe the only time I've seen pecans, they're pecan halves. So I would have to bust those down into pieces anyway, which means I would have to dirty another thing, which is my food processor. So also, I need to stop complaining that those were $7 because it saved me a step. I'm still gonna have to like toast them, but it saved me from having to wash another thing, okay? Not on the list at all is this granola. I still have yogurts because I did go get my yogurts that I was talking about in the last vlog, and I have not gotten around to making any granola. And considering that the mission of this week and this week specifically is cookies, I'm not gonna be making my own granola. So pick that up. Another convenience item not on the list, but I feel like would help me out, pre-made pasta. Last night, I did not eat my leftover, what was that? My leftover stroganoff. I did not have that for dinner. Actually, I was hunting for space in my refrigerator and realized that if I ate that last bit of taco salad, I could clear out a couple of dishes, so I ate that instead. But also realizing how late I got around to feeding myself yesterday, all because it felt like boiling pasta was an inconvenience. So because I want to feed myself and do a better job about that, I just bought this. I've never actually tried this before. How many servings is in here? 1 serving? I mean, it feels like a lot of pasta. Yeah, I've never tried this before, but I guess I'm gonna try it today because I think I'm going to eat leftovers for lunch. I think that's the running plan right now. Next up, we have something else. Oh my gosh, girl, these next few things was not on the list either. Pineapples, they're back in season and it was $1.88. So I was like, ooh girl, get your pineapple. I love pineapples so much, and the pre-cut stuff is like $5 and you get like this much, whereas for $2 I get a whole entire pineapple. Another thing, look, when I take on big cooking projects like this, I need to find ways to shortcut the meals that I'm actually supposed to be consuming during that time frame. And yesterday I did not have a single crumb until, was it almost 2 o'clock before I ate anything? That's not okay, okay? That's not all right. So I went ahead and picked these 2 up. I'm actually about to pop one of these in the, I hope they go in the microwave. Yes, I'm gonna pop this one in the microwave and eat it for breakfast. Hopefully it's good because, you know, I really don't buy a whole lot of pre-made meals like this, but again, in the essence of just making sure that I have food readily available so I'm not skipping meals, I'm gonna give this a run. And if it's good, well, first of all, I'm gonna eat this one today. I'm gonna eat this one tomorrow morning because tomorrow morning I'm gonna be up at the absolute crack of dawn because this oven is gonna be going all day long. And if either of these are good, I will keep this in mind for next week, because if I need it while I'm cooking for Thanksgiving, it would be great for me to just like grab a little something, pop it in a microwave and feed myself before I start cooking. Okay. Now, very much so the piece de la resistance, okay? I went to the Kroger yesterday. Y'all saw me. We was in there. We had our little grocery cart. Boop, boop, boop. We was shopping, buying all the things. And I ran past the meat section. Now, the Thanksgiving meat had not been determined yet, right? Like, I am notorious for doing a chicken because Me and my mans, we're not really big turkey people because it just seems like, child, the turkey just, it goes on and on and on and on and on, and we be done. And I actually made my first Thanksgiving turkey 4 years ago? 4 years ago. And it was bomb. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. That turkey was bussin'. But also, it was just so much left over where I was just like, I don't want any more. So from then on out, I've done basically chickens, like variations of chicken, just like a regular like Sunday dinner chicken. I've done Cornish hens. I've done a capon, which is a variation of a chicken. And then last year, it was like a hen or something like that. I don't too much know, but basically what I'm saying is that we are not really big turkey people. Like if you're gonna give me some turkey, great. But like to make a turkey and have to eat the leftovers, no, we good on it. Except in the grocery store yesterday, my eyes have never seen this in the store. And it's going down. It's going down. So we are about to have a Cajun style turkey for Thanksgiving. And I am hoping that this is good enough where the leftovers are not going to be bothersome. It's 12 pounds, which, oh, that's cold. It's 12 pounds, which is larger than the birds that I would usually buy. That's an experiment for next week. I still have not really decided. Oh no, okay. I need to move a couple of things around in my freezer. I still haven't really decided how I'm going to film a vlog next week because I'm sitting on so much footage. It literally is making my brain explode. I am trying to edit as much as I can in between doing things, but it seems like I'm always doing things. So the window for editing just keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. So I'm gonna marinate on that and see how I'm gonna do it. But I definitely wanna show y'all the results of this Cajun turkey because I have never bought a pre-made bird before. Well, no, I take that back. Do you count the rotisserie chicken at Costco? Because yeah, I've purchased that several times, but I have never bought a pre-made big bird, okay? Anyway, per usual, girl, I'm just running my mouth. What is the plan for this morning? I thought I was gonna be able to make some cookies before I logged in for work, but I forgot to take out the butter and the eggs. So I've taken that out and it's just sitting over there to the side. And I think what I'm gonna do before I log in is measure out the rest of the ingredients for those oatmeal raisin cookies, which I think is just gonna be the oats, and then get another bowl and pre-measure the stuff for the pecan sandies, because when my lunch break comes around, I just wanna be in here like throwing things into a bowl, mixing it and portioning it. I don't think I necessarily will have the time to like do the full, okay, let me pull this out and measure that. Let me pull this out and measure that. Because after work, you know what? Am I just gonna sit here and run my mouth? After work, I need to go to the post office and source my boxes. I went through this 2 years ago. The one up that I have this time around is I know the exact size boxes that I need. I just need to make sure that they actually have them. And I'm hoping that because I'm doing this project at least like 2 or 3 weeks earlier than I did it the last time, I'm not gonna run into issues sourcing the actual boxes, because I think I tried to bake these cookies the last time too close to Christmas and USPS was like, girl, you should have been here weeks ago. We ain't got your box. That is the plan. I'm gonna put all these things up, fix my breakfast. Well, not fix, microwave my breakfast, finish my Celsius, and log into work, okay? I really hope this little breakfast bowl is good. I mean, it says 26 grams of protein, right? So I think it's just eggs, bacon, cheese, and potatoes. You know what? For a frozen item, that is not terrible at all. There's not a lot of cheese in here, which I like because I don't really like cheese on my eggs like that. But this is good. Don't take your love away from me. I need you, don't take your love. Okay, I'm not trying to have YouTube come for me because I'm playing other folks' music on here. But the time has come to make these cookies. I'm telling you right now, it is 2:30. I've been sitting over there doing my thing at work. I am just so proud of myself though. Let me acknowledge this because your girl has been on point with the work this week. I am trying to like do the things that I normally need to do plus work ahead because I'm on PTO all of next week. Glory, hallelujah. And everything is just working in my favor. It really is working in my favor. I had a training that was supposed to be later today that somebody reached out and was like, hey babes, I'm swamped. I can't make it. You ain't gonna hear no complaining from me. So we bumped that to sometime in like early mid-December. I'm pretty much done with everything that I needed to do today. And it's only, again, 2:30. So after I make these cookies, I am gonna go pop it back there because it's sending a signal to my brain that I can keep on working ahead. Then when I get back and I have to do all the stuff that needs to be done during the first week of the month, I'm gonna be Gucci. So without further ado, I'm gonna start with the oatmeal raisin cookies. This is salt, flour, baking soda, and cinnamon. And then I need to add all 3 of these eggs, 3 sticks of this butter, I believe. Is it 3 sticks? Yeah, it's not 3 sticks in total, but it's 255 grams. And then I've got my oats and my raisins already split off. I'm gonna also be adding some of this vanilla extract. These cookies are also probably some of the easier ones because they pretty much make themselves. They're a drop cookie outside of, I think it was the gingerbread cookie and the coconut cookie require like some hands-on activity after you roll them into balls because you have to dip them in either the turbinado or extra coconut flakes. Whereas this and the chocolate chip cookie, you do all of the things, then you just drop it on the cookie sheet and you bake them off. Because I'm in a vibe right now, I'm about to turn the music back on and get my life. So I'm gonna put this on a time lapse. Sing, Maxwell, sing the song, baby. Got me almost forgetting to put in the vanilla. Oh no. My bad. This looks like frosting to me. You just don't treat them bad. All right, time to portion out some more cookies. So this, I think, is the only cookie that actually gets portioned with a single tablespoon. I love this scoop a lot, like a lot. I'm actually on the fence about getting the 2 tablespoon version of this. I just feel like the majority of the cookies that I make require 2 tablespoons instead of a single tablespoon. So we shall see. I'll link to this scoop in the description box below. I really like it because it's sturdy. Like the other cookie scoop that I used to have was just cheap. I feel like, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I bought it from Walmart like a decade ago and then I finally replaced it. So this one has been working really well for me. I'll come back when it's time to do the pecan sandies because, baby, according to the recipe that I have hanging up on the fridge, this makes 54 tablespoon size cookies. And I'm like, yeah, we're barely 12 in. I'm gonna be here for a minute. You keep me on my feet. These pecan sandies are the ones that I am the most kind of like nervous about because I need to toast these nuts. And not only that, the last time I made shortbread cookies, they were crumbly AF, like the dough was crumbly AF, and I had to go back and add in more butter in order to make the cookie actually hold its shape. I've also never made this recipe before, so I don't know whether or not I'm gonna have to make the adjustment to the butter. Now, it calls for 2 cups of butter because I am gonna double it, but I don't remember how much butter I had to use for the other recipe. I also made that like 2 years ago, so don't even listen to me. I'm going to toast these until they become a little bit fragrant, pull them off, and then chop them up more because the recipe is saying that they need to be finely chopped, and this is the size of the little pieces that I got. So, oh, here's to them not burning because low-key, I don't have enough to toast this amount again. I got one shot to get this right. It's been like 5 or 6 minutes on low. And they smell toasted to me. Are they toasted enough? I don't know, but I would rather be under than over. So there's that. After I swore up and down that I was not going to be pulling out this food processor. They want them finely chopped. And I just don't feel like using my knife. So food processor is... This is what I'm going to call finely chopped. I need to take 6 tablespoons of this off the top and reserve it. This bowl has the butter and powdered sugar in here, and I just need to cream these together until they're light and fluffy. Then after that, I need to add the flour mixture, which is right here. This is just flour and salt that needs to be mixed together, and then add it in here. This took such a long time, but it's definitely giving light and fluffy. So let's add everything else. First of all, I need to mix this because I think I see salt, but I'm not sure. So we're just gonna mix that up for good measure. One of these days, this hand mixer is gonna decide it don't mess with me no more. I be pushing this motor to the limit, okay? I forgot to add the vanilla and the water, so I'm gonna do that now. Well, off top, this dough looks better than my first shortbread cookie dough because it's way more hydrated. Like the last one was super crumbly. So this recipe says to scoop the dough into 1-inch balls and lightly flatten and then roll the edges in the reserved pecans. But I think what I'm going to do, oh, it also gives the option to roll it into a 2-inch thick log and slice before baking as long as you chill it. I think what I'm gonna do though is transfer it back to this bowl just as it is and put it in the fridge because tomorrow when I roll this out to bake them, I'm gonna actually cut them into like little rectangles. So it's fine if this dough just sits up like it is in the fridge. I'll just have to make sure to pull this one out a little bit earlier tomorrow so that it has time to be pliable enough for me to use my rolling pin. But that's all the cookies that I'm making today. I need to go back to work for a little bit and then I'm gonna try my very best to get to the post office before it closes because I need to see what's going on with these boxes. Not me forgetting I have no room in my refrigerator for that big old bowl I tried to use. So I just put it in a gallon-sized bag and we will bake these off tomorrow. After a brief review, this pasta is a 10 out of 10. First of all, I never knew what this pasta shape was called, so love that I learned something else. It's not dry, it's not hard, and it blends perfectly with a sauce. So if you find yourself in a pinch this holiday season, or just like in a busy season in general, I'm gonna insert a little image of the pasta bag because I've already thrown it away, but I 10 out of 10 recommend this pasta. But buy it on sale though, girl, because I think it was like $2.79 or $3 a pouch, and that is not cute. The addition of mushrooms in this dish, bone apple tea. Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday to you. It's cookie day, cookie day, cookie day, cookie day. Hey! We need to start baking these cookies because, baby, this oven is about to be running all day long. It's already like 10:30, I think, I've been sitting at my desk getting some work done, but I had pulled these out to come to like room temperature because the situation that I had found myself in is that I did not bag these yesterday. So this morning I woke up and they were like this, and I'm like, it doesn't make any sense for me to pull these off and bag them just to have to pull them out again later. So what I'm gonna do is slide these parchment sheets off, find like a flat surface where I can sit them on, cut a new piece of parchment to put it on the top, and I think with each of these big sheet trays I can do 12 cookies at a time. So also remembering from the last time that I did this, I did try to insert 2 trays in the oven at the same time, and it just did not result in cookies that I was a big fan of. So I am gonna have to bake these off 1 tray at a time. Everything's gonna go in there at 350. So let's get it going. At some point today though, probably during my break, I am going to make the snickerdoodles, and the snickerdoodles are just gonna go right into the oven after they're made, because again, it doesn't make any sense for me to portion them out, stick them in the refrigerator, just have to pull them out and bake them off. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. One thing I love about parchment paper is that you can use it several times before you need to cut a new sheet. One thing I don't love about this parchment paper is that I got it from Publix and they did not have the pre-cut sheets. So that basically means I'm gonna have to measure my own sheets before I stick my cookies down, which is a little bit annoying, but I figure if I like cut a template or something, I'll be able to finagle it. According to the recipe sheet, this needs to go into the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. I'm gonna do 9 minutes. That seems like a good compromise. And yes, that means I'm gonna be up and down all day long swapping out cookies, but it's fine because something else is I've also looked up on a day where I don't have any meetings. Like I don't have a single meeting today. It's very much so giving independent work, which is great, especially because I got a chance to work ahead yesterday. So I feel like the odds are ever in my favor. But yeah, this is 1 batch in, and it's 4, 8, 11 cookies on a tray. Going in. These look like at 9 minutes, and I think I'm gonna shrink that down to 8 minutes. All right, they don't look bad though, just like a little bit over IMO, just like by the tiniest bit though. We'll see how they set up. I'm not gonna say anything rash until I see how they set up. While my last batch of oatmeal raisin cookies are cooling on the rack, I ended up going down to 9 per sheet tray, and they look so much better, and 9 minutes ended up working out just fine. So I did a little bit of cookie math, right? I'm trying to send out 3 boxes, 1 really big box and 2 smaller boxes. So for the big box, in my mind, I'm thinking I need 2 dozen of each cookie, with the exception of the chocolate chip. I'm gonna throw an extra dozen in there because chocolate chip is like everybody's favorite. I mean, really, it's not my favorite cookie, but you know, I'm not gonna argue with the masses, okay? And then for the 2 smaller boxes, I want to do 4 of each cookie, but stick in an extra 2 of chocolate chip. So I would make the chocolate chip half a dozen, and then everything else would be 4 cookies a piece. With that being said, I ended up with extra cookies that I could put in the freezer, which I absolutely love that for me because I want to also gift cookies during December, but it's gonna be at least another 2 weeks before I need to put all that together. So I'm just gonna freeze the extra cookie dough, which that brings me around to like the greatest thing of all. It's gonna cut down my oven rotation time today. I'm not gonna be spinning that thing all day because I only need to make a certain amount of each cookie in order to be able to ship them off tomorrow. So glory, love that for me. Also something that, oh, you know what? We'll just talk about that later. When I take my break, this is Janetta reminding herself to talk about how you plan on packaging all this up, okay? All right, moving on. Also realizing that there's a chance here that it's not common knowledge that you can reuse parchment paper. Like, you legitimately don't have to get a new sheet every time you run cookies. And this is how I clean it off. I just take a damp paper towel and I run it along the sheet. Now, this one had raw cookie dough on it, but I do the same thing for sheets that had cooked cookies on it, because sometimes the cookies will leave behind residue, and that residue is basically sugar. So when you put them in the oven, the sugar will sometimes burn. So even though you can reuse parchment paper, I strongly suggest wiping it off so you don't end up with cookies that have burnt sugar on the bottom, because the first batch that went in there left sugar behind. But this is fairly quick to do, and voila, magic. It's basically a brand new piece of parchment. Okay, next cookie we have up is the chewy ginger molasses cookie, and these are supposed to go for 13 to 15 minutes. Again, I'm gonna start with 10, but also with these cookies, I need to dip the tops into turbinado sugar before baking them off. And this is what turbinado sugar looks like. Also, please do not say anything to me if my hands are ashy. The amount of times I'm washing my hands, this is just what it's gonna be, okay? I'm not gonna waste lotion when I know I'm just gonna be washing my hands again and again and again. Since the math started mathing to me and I realized that I didn't need to bake all the cookies that I made, I was not actually timing when I was supposed to pull these cookies out correctly. So good news is I was able to knock out some more work, because today for me, like I said, I don't have any meetings, but there's a couple of reporting type activities that I just wanted to get done and out before I logged off for the day. But now that these are ready, the oven temp is doing what it does. I need to bring y'all down here so you could see. I'm gonna put these into balls first. And the recipe for this one does say to roll them all the way in turbinado sugar, but the last time I made these, I made a note that I preferred if only the tops were dipped instead of rolling the whole thing. So that's why I'm only doing the tops here. Okay, these are the ginger cookies. Now, what I'm going to do is like this old trick that I learned. It's if you want the tops of your cookies to be a little bit crinkly, you have to slam them on a hard surface. So, there we go. I've taken the air out of them and they look a little bit crinkly. Oh my gosh, what a vibe. Okay, next batch can go in. Gosh, they're still hard. Ugh. Okay, I'm gonna have to just sit some out for a while. Out for a while, so I'm hoping that they are soft. I had to give them a little bit of extra time outside of how long it took to bake those ginger ones, because for whatever reason they were just really hard. So per this recipe, roll the tops and sides in the reserved coconut, but a lot of coconut is not gonna stick to these, so I'm wondering whether or not this step is necessary at all. Because it's kind of seeming like maybe it's not. I mean, for this much coconut that's getting on the cookie, I don't know. But I'm gonna follow the instructions though, okay? I'm gonna do the same 9 per tray, because I just don't want the cookies like spreading to the point where they're running into each other. glad I have extras because these do not look anything like these, baby. That's all right though. I'm gonna eat these. I'm not gonna have no problem taking care of these ones right here. It happens to the best of us. It happens to the best of us. Now, the back smell a little over. Like, I feel like it's a familiar smell. It doesn't quite smell like charred, like crispy burnt coconut, but And I will have you know, this is my first cookie of the entire day. I haven't been eating any of them. Okay, these are actually so good. I'm gonna eat another one. I'm gonna hold you. And then these are the extra ones that I pulled out of the refrigerator. I'll just leave those on the counter until they get to the point where I can roll them, coat them in some coconut, and then move on. I have already pulled out shortbread, and it's been sitting out for a while when it's still hard as a freaking rock. So I'm just gonna continue letting it sit. This recipe will keep it open. Rinse and repeat. Since this is not quite ready to be rolled out, and I'm actually about to go run the streets in a little bit, I'm gonna pop this back in the refrigerator because I can address this later on when I get back. But I have about 40 to 50 minutes of cookie rotating to do, which is basically an hour, and I'm trying to like be done by 6. So we have this tray right here, and then I have two more rounds right there, so which is basically 40 minutes. So we're either going to reconvene tonight or early in the morning. Would I have time to whip this together though? This snickerdoodle dough, that's what I actually may do. Okay, big brain energy, baby. I'm gonna push these through the oven, and while those are doing their thing, I'm gonna whip together this dough and get it portioned, and I think I'll be done with that part by 6 o'clock. I also had intentions on having like a little conversation about where I had went, because I did find the boxes that I was looking for, not the ones that I got yesterday. The ones that I got yesterday were not the correct size for shipping the smaller ones, but I looked up. Hold please. Come on, baby. Chocolate chip cookies, where you at? So what I was saying, oh, I need to slam these real quick, hold on. What I was saying is that I did go back to the post office today because the size box that I was looking for, I don't want to get it wrong, I think it's like a 7x7x6 is the flat rate box. And my goofy behind, the first time I did this, I could not find that size box at any of the post offices that I went to. So I went to, I think I got them from like Walmart. Tell me why it cost more to send a slightly smaller box than it would have if I would have been able to find the correct size. So I was on a mission, and luckily for me, actually when I walked up in there, I didn't originally see it because the section where it should have been, it was not there. But I guess somebody rolled up in there and changed their mind because there was the exact amount of boxes that I needed just tucked away right there. But yesterday I went and I got a medium flat rate box and a large flat rate box. The medium I don't think is going to work, but if it doesn't, I have the large. And then I went into Hobby Lobby to see what little packaging baggies that they had, because I have some left over from last year, which I'm pretty sure I got during like Christmas clearance, but I don't have enough motifs. So I think I only had 3 or 4 different motifs, and I wanted 6 because I wanted to like differentiate the cookies. So I got what I need. Now all I gotta do is just like finish baking this stuff and throw this other dough together, and I'm gonna personally feel like I'm in a fantastic spot. I also want to make an announcement that PTO has officially entered the chat. Maybe nobody was doing anything. Nobody has been doing anything for like the past hour and a half. I was just quite literally online just in case somebody needed something before I left, and not a peep, not a holla. So I'm out. Now I can focus on what I'm doing full time, because I'm not even going to tell you how many steps I would have gotten if I was tracking from getting up and sitting down all day. Like I can't even tell you. It's like 9:40 and I feel like I could fall flat on my face. I'm not really understanding because I literally drank half a can of Celsius like 3 hours ago, and I feel like I haven't slept for days right now. So I have defrosted my butter in the microwave because, quite frankly, I just don't have time for it to like get to temp on its own, and these eggs are going in cold. I think that's all that I have in me for the rest of tonight, is to at least make the dough and then get some sleep and wake up and finish this tomorrow. Because really, I think what happened was, it is like 40 degrees outside, and I am almost certain that the cold has zapped any additional energy that Celsius was supposed to provide. It's gone, baby. It's gone. So that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. And then I'm gonna, whoop, go to bed. Morning. I'm not gonna say it's bright and early because it's still actually dark outside. It's, I think, maybe like 6:45. I've been up for a little bit because I wanted to turn the oven on to get it preheating, and then I pulled the snickerdoodles out and the shortbread dough. I've already mixed the cinnamon sugar for the snickerdoodles, so I'm gonna give them like 15 more minutes. I mean, real talk, could they use more than 15 minutes? Yeah, so I don't know, I may give them 20 minutes before I run the first batch. But until then, I am sitting on my kitchen stool with the other half of my Celsius. I've also prepped my pans behind me, and I have my books on the floor. Because during this round, I'm gonna sit here and read. I actually think what I'm gonna do is, when I feel like the snickerdoodle dough is ready, see how many I can roll around in the cinnamon sugar and let sit before the sugar starts to get weird. They magnifique. These look so good. And voila. All of the snickerdoodles are done. I do have some cookies cooling on this rack back here that I will end up adding to that pan. But now, oh my bad, now it's time to get into these shortbreads, because I feel like the dough is very workable and I have everything that I need out. I think I pulled out I pulled out 2 bench scrapers. I have those toasted nuts from the other day, and then I have my tub of flour. So according to this recipe, I'm supposed to get 48 cookies. My eyes right before me now are just wondering how I'm supposed to get 48 cookies from this. And it also says to scoop it into 1-inch balls and lightly flatten. I think I'm gonna cut them in squares because I feel like that would be easier for me. And I have my rolling pin and I have it set to 1/4 inch because the last time I made shortbread cookies, that recipe called for 1/4 inch. I'm so happy. We are in the home stretch of this, y'all. The home stretch. To eyeball this. Half, that means I should get 12 on this side and 12 on this side. Half again means I should get 6, 6, 6, 6. Okay, so they're going to be a little bit more square than rectangle. Okay, that's cool. All right, I have 24 squares here, and I'm just gonna transfer them to the cookie sheet and run it. Recipe says that they need to be cooked for 10 minutes, so we're gonna see if that's accurate. I'm just gonna be sitting here watching it like a hawk, because out of all the doughs that I refuse to remake, it's gonna be this one. Looking good, looking good. All right, we're just gonna sit here and rinse and repeat, y'all. And look, honestly, these ones on the sheet are not the same size. And am I concerned? No, I am not. I am not. They're gonna look homemade, period. We're done. I finally have a design that I'm happy with, so I need to pack these cookies because they need to get dropped off at the mail ASAP. Did anybody else see this coming? Because I did. I did, fam. I'm trying to get out of the house in, what time is it? 30 minutes. So these cookies need to be bagged and tagged in 30 minutes. Can I do it? I think I can, but also the only way that I think I can is if I just hush my mouth, okay? So I think I already mentioned it that I was gonna put in some B-roll, but in case editing Janetta quite simply forgets or decides to cut the clip, okay? This is what I am bagging the cookies in. So these three right here, I'm pretty sure I got clearance at Michael's last Christmas. And then these are the three that I just picked up from Hobby Lobby. Quite frankly, everything Christmas was 50% off, so I was like, you're not gonna hear me complaining. And then I have some like random tissue paper from my bin, and then some craft paper from my bin, and that is what I'm gonna use to bag these cookies. I am trying to keep it cute and keep it real simple, whereas only one type of cookie is going into a bag, because if somebody just wants, let's say, coconut cookies, there's gonna be coconut cookies only in this bag. I am gonna need to do some quick math though, because I think this design has the most bags. So off top, I'm gonna put chocolate chip cookies in here, but by how much, I'm not sure. Like these have 20 in each of these. And it says 24. And this says it's 12 sets. So I'm assuming that there are 12 of each of these. And then this just feels like a lot. I have 30 of these. So like I was talking about, let me stop yapping and get the bagging, okay? I'm gonna move this camera. I'm gonna point it down at my workstation. And this is gonna be a time lapse, boo-boo. How much of this time lapse I'm gonna include? Your guess is as good as mine. I just need to put a little stank on it. So let me wash my hands, and then I'm gonna get to bagging and tagging. Chocolate chip is down. Let's do shortbreads. Ginger snaps, or chewy ginger, whatever we're calling these. Oatmeal raisin, batter up. Coconut, where you at? Coconut, where you at? Next up are the snickerdoodles. All right, let's pack a box. I've already got one down and it sounds pretty decent. It's a little movement in here, but I'm hoping nothing arrives broken. Who running behind? Me and only me, okay? At least I'm showered and I got on lotion and my makeup is done, because what I omitted was your girl actually got someplace to go. So that's why these cookies were supposed to be at the post office like at least a couple hours ago. Unbeknownst to me, I figured out the error of my ways, and it's because I baked every single snickerdoodle cookie that I had. Huh? Why did I do that and not just bake the ones that I was going to need to ship? I don't know. I literally don't know what happened. It could have been that it was so early this morning, I was just delirious trying to just make some shake, but that wasted so much time. On top of that, me just sitting over there being Picasso, girl. Like, we'll get into that later. What I'm popping in here to say is that I'm not going to close this out today. This is going to be one of those, oh, she going to come back another day and close this video out, because 100% we going to need to debrief about what is going on. And why is this parking lot packed like the club? What is going on here? Okay, that's all I came in here to say. Bye. I know that I was supposed to come out here and film an outro to this video, and I was thinking I was going to be able to film it within maybe the next 48 to 72 hours after wrapping up this project, but the way Thanksgiving showed up on my doorstep. Time just, what was time? What was time, and also what was energy, because this was no small undertaking, and to immediately follow it with Thanksgiving, I'm thankful to be here. Okay. There are little bits and pieces of information that I wanted to share in the event that you were thinking of undertaking a project of this size before Christmas, or if you wanted to just put this on your bucket list because now you have seen it can be done. And the only way I'm going to do that is that if I just sit here and take some time during my lunch, by the way, to film this segment for y'all. So keeping in mind all the things I feel like I want to transfer from my brain into yours, I think I can do a better job if I separate this into like 3 miniature categories. 1, the timeline, if you want to take on a project like this. 2 is probably packaging and materials and the like, such as, and then 3 would be cook notes. So I feel like we should start with time, because more than anything else, I feel like time would be the deciding factor for anybody who is thinking about undertaking something of this size. I just made some rough estimates on a couple of things, and this is really centered around active cookie time, which for me, I would consider active cookie time to be mixing and portioning and baking off the cookies, okay? So for the dough prep, which would be mixing and portioning, I estimated somewhere around 45 to 50 minutes for each cookie, because you are making a big batch of dough. In most cases, you are doubling the recipe, and then you're pre-portioning your cookie balls so that it's easier for you to bake them off. And then I also estimated about an hour for each batch of cookies. Now, if memory serves me correctly, I believe I was able to bake off 8 cookies at a time, and that gave each cookie on the half sheet enough space so that they didn't bleed into each other. Now, I did have a couple of times where I was trying to fit more cookies and figured out that it didn't work, but I was also rotating 2 trays. So if you had 2 trays, I would estimate active baking time for each cookie to be about an hour. And if you don't have 2 trays and are only operating off of 1 half sheet, I would put you in the ballpark of somewhere around 2 hours per batch of cookies. Now, with all that being considered, that lands you at about 10.5 hours of just active cookie time. So that doesn't take into consideration the packaging or shopping for ingredients or sourcing the packaging for your cookies and all that jazz. So going into this, in your brain, think, do I have 10.5 hours to pull this off? Which brings me to my next part of the timeline situation, which is in regards to like prepping ahead. So if you have the extra freezer space, by all means, I would 100,000 million quadrillion % recommend prepping ahead, okay? Because that would give you the opportunity to take this 10.5 hours and split it up between like the week prior or even 2 weeks prior. That way, the week that you plan on making the cookies, like actually baking them off and shipping them, it's not so much time commitment for that specific week, okay? My bad, girl. My phone died. So I had to hang it up, let it charge. And now there's just like a little bit of daylight remaining. So I'm going to try to make this quick and make it do what it do. So the second part to this is the conversation around packaging. Off top, I'm going to recommend that you get your flat rate boxes from USPS. And why, you may ask? I think I mentioned this while I was filming, but just in case you were zoned out, girl, I'm going to run it back because it really is going to make a difference in how much money you spend. So the first time that I did this, I was having a little bit of a tough time finding the boxes from USPS that I wanted to use. I knew I needed a larger box, and then I also knew that I needed smaller boxes for those instances where maybe you're sending it to one person or just a smaller household. So instead, I was just like, it's just a box. And I went to Walmart and Target. I'm pretty sure I struck out at Target and ended up finding the boxes that I wanted to use at Walmart. Here's the problem. The boxes that I bought from Walmart, I believe, were maybe a 1/2 inch to 1 inch smaller than the box that I was looking for at the post office. And somehow, the way the maths behind that counter at the post office, the smaller box ended up costing me more monies. I still, to this day, do not know or understand why sending a smaller box non-flat rate would cost more than sending a slightly larger box flat rate. So I am here to tell you, get your boxes at the post office. It don't matter if you got to go to 2 or 3 of them. Get your boxes there because for whatever reason, the post office just don't respect boxes from other people. Okay. And I wish I had that receipt so I can fully convey the difference in dollars that it costs to send cookies with another box versus the flat rate. But I don't know where it is. I'm pretty sure I have it around here somewhere because y'all know how I be hoarding paper, but my mind cannot recall. I just really remember the fact that it cost more money. So rule number 1, get your boxes from the post office, okay? The smaller one that I used, which fit about, I'd say maybe like 30 cookies, was a 7x7x6. And then when I sent like really large batches of cookies, the large box did just fine. And also, if you did not know, those flat rate boxes are actually free for you to take from the post office. You actually don't pay until you bring your box packed back. So if you're unsure what size box that you need, it never hurts to drive by the post office and collect what you think you need, take it back to the house and try it out, and then bring the boxes back with you to the post office that don't end up working out so somebody else can use them. Okay, I literally could not. I'm so sorry. I had to cut that light on. So that then brings me to what I use when I do in-town cookie deliveries. And I am personally a really big fan of cookie tins. And I have a couple of extras to show you. They're just really cute little tins that I tend to use for cookies and or other baked goods during the holiday season. And I get them at any of the craft stores, you know, between Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, and Dollar Tree. They tend to have these cookie tins. Now, just like with everything else during the holiday season, the earlier you get there, the better selection that you have. This right here is an example of one that I got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm pretty sure I got this one at the Dollar Tree too. I will also mention here that you will have an easier time packing your cookies if you get a square or rectangle tin versus the circle ones. You know, you would just think that circle cookies inside of a circle tin would work out really well, but depending on the amount that you put in there, you'll have a harder time fitting them in there than you would if you had a square or a rectangle tin, okay? Another thing that I want to mention if I'm doing the cookie boxes would be, what do I use as fillers? Now with the flat rate box and the cookie tins, I tend to basically keep it the same. I will go in with some craft paper and some tissue paper and pack the cookies in there and then top it with some more tissue paper. And I do it in a way where there's not a whole lot of room for the cookies to move around, because the more room that you have in your box, the more chances you have of your cookies arriving broken. And I don't really run into that issue very much. Actually, the first time that I did it, I think there was maybe like 5 or less throughout all of the shipments that ended up broken. And this time, I think there were more cookies broken, but also some of that I feel like has to do with the fact that USPS did not deliver my packages on time. I know. So all that rushing and fussing that I was doing to get them out on Saturday, they were supposed to get to all of their locations by Wednesday. Like some were going to get there like a day earlier. Some were going to get there on Wednesday. No big deal. Okay. Because the goal was to get them there before Thanksgiving. Can somebody tell me why some of those did not arrive until Friday and like Friday afternoon? I cannot accurately convey how annoyed, hurt, frustrated, irritated I was that these did not get to their destinations until after they were supposed to get there. Like, I even took the time to look at the map to figure out how much time it would take to get from like one place to another, and I still had wiggle room. So the fact that I still had wiggle room, and then on top of that, the deliveries were late, irks my entire soul. And then, just in case you were not aware, there is a difference between priority mail and express mail. Priority mail gives a guaranteed delivery, like that's how it's advertised, like expected delivery, let me say. And they don't refund you your postage on an expected delivery. If you were to do express mail, that is a guaranteed delivery, and if it was late, they would give you a refund on your postage. Just in case you didn't know that, because I thought that I would be able to walk up in there and be like, somebody owe me something like a book of stamps or something for the inconvenience, okay? Because everybody who was supposed to be where they were supposed to be wasn't necessarily going to be there the day after the fact. And very, very nice person, okay? Very nice postal service worker was just like, look, baby, unfortunately, it was priority mail and not express mail, so ain't no refunds. And the way they told me, I was just like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to take it in stride. Thank you for letting me know. But also, y'all days are numbered, okay? Because I've also had some other issues with delivering other things here in the last 2-3 months where I was already looking at them like this anyway. Okay, but with that being said, I feel like that's all I have to contribute for packaging. Oh no, there was one more thing. So how I actually end up packaging the cookies before I stick them in their respective containers. I like to get the little craft baggies from the craft store. I don't know if Dollar Tree has them. You know what? I do, because there was one that I used. It was shaped kind of like this with the twist tie, and it had, I think, snowmen on it. The quality of those bags is an absolute no for me, because I put in like 2 or 3 cookies and the seam on the side ripped. So I would recommend getting your actual like little cookie baggies from the regular craft stores. And on top of that, I'm also going to recommend that you forego the ones with a twist tie, because in essence, it's just more work, and instead do the ones that are like, they look like really cute sandwich bags because they have a design on the outside. You put the stuff in and you just kind of swipe your hand across the thing and they close, or the ones that have the adhesive strip. So with that, I think that's all I got on the packaging. And let me get my notes together and stuff, because we got to talk about Cook's Notes. All right. Bringing it around to the Cook's Notes portion. So I feel like when I cook or bake in the vlogs, I try to make a very conscious effort to insert the Cook's Notes as they arise. But I'm also realizing, because I was baking so many different things at the same time, that I quite simply could have forgotten. And another thing is that I was on the phone going over some of the recipes, and it was communicated to me that because I did not follow all of these recipes to a T, I need to not just send out the recipe, but to also send out the cook's notes. And you know what? I can't argue with you there, because if you're looking at some of these recipes and you follow them exactly as written, our cookies are not going to be the same. So to combat that, we're just going to go through all of them. Right out the gate, I will tell you that all of these cookies got put in the oven at 350. All of the recipes do not say 350, but that's what temperature that I settled on to put them in the oven, because again, I knew that I was going to be baking so many things at one time. I also did not want to have to remember when to adjust my oven, and then also have to take the time to wait for the oven to fluctuate in those temperatures before I could throw the next cookie in. And then I also, because I really care, I have stale cookies sitting on my coffee table right now, because I feel like sometimes people just want a cute little visual, okay? So they may not have the sheen and the pliability of a fresh cookie, but I'm hoping that they'll get the point across and you can kind of tell how the final cookie turns out, because I don't remember if I had B-roll of every single cookie that I made. So we're gonna start with the first cookie. These are not in the order. I feel like I just said that. Maybe not, but these are not in the same order that they were baked off in the vlog. I just have the recipe sitting out here. So the first cookie we have is a favorite of mine and apparently everyone else's as well. It is the Chewy Ginger Molasses Cookie by Bakey Bakes. Y'all, I look forward to making this cookie every holiday season since the recipe was passed on to me, okay? It is such a good cookie. It is chewy just like the recipe indicates, and the flavor is just, it's just a really, really good ginger cookie, okay? Now, what I did differently is the recipe is gonna tell you to roll the entire cookie ball in turbinado, or, oh, it's gonna say you can either use sanding sugar or turbinado sugar. I find that making these cookies with turbinado sugar is A1, because it just gives like that slightly caramelized sugar taste in the sugar versus using white sugar. I mean, really, it's the difference between using white sugar and brown sugar, so why would you not if you have it? Another thing is that it's going to tell you to take your dough ball and roll the entire thing in turbinado sugar. I personally do not do that, because the first time that I made these cookies, I did a test cookie for each way, and I found that the cookies that were completely rolled in the turbinado sugar turned out crunchier than the cookies that just had the top dipped. So it's a personal preference. I would try it both ways and see which one that you like. And I personally prefer the turbinado sugar over the sanding sugar or regular granulated white. So this next cookie, I'm just gonna go ahead and get it out of the way, because for whatever forsaken reason, the cookie that I decided to hold back as an example just got to be one of the ugliest ones out of the bunch. Okay, look at this thing. Where are the chocolate chips, you may ask? Baby, why are they back there? I feel like this was one of the ones that came from like the end of the dough, where it was just like, I'm tired and really I don't care about what this cookie looks like, and I just threw what was left on the cookie sheet, and that's what it ended up looking like. But this recipe is called the brown butter and toffee chocolate chip cookie, and it's from Bon Appetit, and the changes that I made are as follows. This one calls for toffee bars, like toffee bars, toffee bits. I did not use them, okay? And the reason is because when I first found this recipe, I used the toffee bits, and I don't feel like they really added anything, so I just decided to continue making the cookie as is without the toffee bits, because I also feel like the addition of the brown butter imparts like a caramely flavor to the cookie dough anyway, where I feel like the toffee was just sending it over. And all I really wanted was like an elevated version of a regular chocolate chip cookie. Another change that I made was this recipe calls for chocolate wafers. And when I typically make the cookie, I will use 1 bag of Nestle semi-sweet chocolate chips, which is about 2 cups. And then if I'm making a variation of the recipe where it includes nuts, I'll cut that back to like 1.5 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and like somewhere between 1/2 cup and 3/4 cup of chopped nuts. And it's really whatever chopped nut that I have around at the time. I've done it with walnuts, I've done it with pecans, I've done it with macadamia nuts, and every single time this cookie turns out delicious. And because of that, another facet of this recipe that I enjoy is the fact that the base dough on its own is really, really good. So if you wanted to use white chocolate chips or, toffee or dark chocolate or whatever, I feel like it would lend itself really, really well with this dough because the dough by itself is just absolutely delicious. Okay, and the last thing that I didn't do that they do on here is the addition of flaky salt. I have a box of Maldon in my kitchen, but I think I just be heavy-handed with it. So I don't tend to use it because I also know that everybody does not like salt on their chocolate chip cookie. So if I'm making some just to keep at home, occasionally I will do a little sprinkle of salt, and still I feel like I'm over salting half the time. But if I am dishing them out, I withhold the salt because that is one of the things about cookies that I feel can be very polarizing. Some people just don't like salt on their cookies, and I can't do nothing but respect it, especially when I'm giving it as a gift. Moving on to another classic. We have the oatmeal raisin cookie from allrecipes.com. Despite it being broken, because again, these are super stale, it's just your run-of-the-mill everyday oatmeal raisin cookie. Now, if you were paying attention when I first mentioned this cookie, you will remember that this was supposed to be an oatmeal raisin walnut cookie. My bad. My bad. Because by the time I made it around to this cookie, I completely forgot that I had intentions on adding walnuts. So they're definitely still in the cabinet. But I mean, depending on who you ask, that worked in my favor because an oatmeal raisin cookie is another one of those classic cookies that people just don't want other folks messing with. You know what I mean? But I wanted to try it to see if it was good. So TBD, I may make a batch of cookies, I don't know, within like the next month or two. And if they happen to be oatmeal raisin cookies, I will be remembering to add those walnuts because I just want to see what it's hitting like. Off the top of my head, I don't remember changing anything about this recipe. A substitution that I've made before was instead of using raisins, use the craisins. I do have another cook's note on here though, and it says that you can cut the sugar on these. So if you were making half the recipe, you can cut it by 1/4 cup. And if you were making the full recipe, you can quarter by 1/2 cup. Now, where you take that sugar from would be up to you because this calls for white and brown sugar. And like I said, depending on where you want to take the sugar from, it's up to you. Honestly, it would probably be up to which I have the least of so that I don't have to go to the store and buy the replacement. But all in all, this is a solid oatmeal raisin cookie recipe. They are really soft and chewy, and even still with the post office running behind with the delivery, they still arrived nice, soft, and chewy. And here we have another classic. This is the soft snickerdoodle cookie from food.com, and I'm gonna keep it 100. I didn't make a single change to this recipe, okay? Snickerdoodles fall into that category of cookie that happened to be one of my favorites. And as a purist of snickerdoodles, my brain literally cannot process how on earth you would make a snickerdoodle taste better than they already do. It is such a simple and straightforward cookie, kind of like the next cookie that I have right here, but it's just like the recipe works every single time. I mean, it's a flawless cookie to the point where I have no notes. So the last two cookies fall into the categories of new to me and kind of sort of new to me. And the kind of sort of new to me is going to be this pecan sandie, also known as a pecan shortbread cookie. Let me tell you something right now. This cookie is a keeper, 100%. If not for the fact that the flavor was really good, but for the fact that the dough held, because this is my second foray into shortbread cookies. And the first time I had made a rosemary shortbread, which was really, really good, and 10 out of 10 would make it again. But the dough was really crumbly. So I found myself having to go back after the fact and add more butter to make the cookie hold. But the way that this recipe is written, the dough held just fine. I didn't have to do anything extra but follow the recipe. Before I forget, this recipe comes from spendwithpennies.com. And as far as the changes that I made to this recipe, I only made one change, which I don't even know if you would consider this a full change because the way that it's written, right? It has you make your dough, shape your dough. Like this one says to roll it in a log and shape it in circles, but I chose to do like squares and rectangles. But the decoration on this recipe is reserving some of the chopped pecans so you can roll the edges of the cookie in it before you bake them. And I didn't do that. The fact that I toasted my pecans before addition was scary enough because you can burn nuts really fast. It's like you look away for a hot second and boom, the whole batch is burnt and you have to start over. And the way my brain was processing it was when you toast your nuts, then you chop them and you add them to a cookie, there's a less chance of the nut burning in the cookie because it's surrounded by the dough, right? But when you take the cookie and you shape it and you roll the outside in those nuts, I feel like the chances of those nuts on the outside burning go up astronomically. And I just didn't want to risk it. For one, this was more of the expensive cookies to make because the nuts by themselves, I think was like $7. And I was just like, you know what? Let me just stick to what I know, and it turned out fine. So what I will say is the next time that I make this cookie, I may experiment and do like a couple cookies where I put the pecans on the outside, but if not, I'm just gonna make sure that I fold all the rest of them in because I reserved it to the side and ended up using them in like oatmeal when I know that I could have actually used them in the cookie dough. But the flavor of this cookie is A1. It's buttery, it's soft, I don't know, it's like the perfect breakfast cookie. You know, like I cannot be the only one who tends to gravitate towards the sweeter breakfast. And I feel like a couple of these cookies alongside a hot cup of something is just a wonderful way to start the morning in the winter. Okay. I just reread the recipe. Another thing that I didn't do is I did not dust these cookies with powdered sugar. I don't feel like they needed it, but you know, if you looking to spike your glucose, do you? And last but not least, we have the cookie that is new to me and will not be new to me anymore because it's officially been added in my cookie rotation. There is the crispy, chewy Carolina coconut cookie from the website. Oh no, it's not on here. Okay, the author is Chris Schuer, and I feel like the recipe was La Sucre or something adjacent to that. Again, all that's going to be in the description box anyway. This cookie right here goes so hard in the paint, okay? I understand that the coconut flavor can be polarizing to some folks, you know what I mean? Some people just really don't get down with coconut. But if you like coconut, baby, this is the cookie. This right here is the cookie. As far as changes that I made, let me look. This has the option of you adding in toffee bits or raw coarse sugar like turbinado or demerara for topping. I didn't do either of those. This is my first coconut cookie, first of all. And because of that, I kind of wanted to taste what like a purely coconut cookie was like before I started playing with what I would add. And this is it. I love this cookie so much. And it's a great use for extra coconut shreds because when I buy coconut, most of the time I'm buying it to make like coconut seafood. So whether or not it's like coconut crusted shrimp or coconut crusted fish or something like that. I don't typically buy it to have it on hand for really much of anything else. And I feel like I'd be struggling sometimes to figure out how I'm going to use the rest of the coconut outside of just putting it in my oatmeal. And this is another pathway. Something else that I changed, well, not changed. There's a note on here that says that the author has used both sweetened and unsweetened coconut with good results. I use sweetened coconut, so my brain is tingling and very much so curious how this would taste with unsweetened coconut. I don't know whether or not the sugar content in the sweetened version makes a huge difference. I don't know, because moving back around to coconut crusted seafood, I've also used sweetened and unsweetened, and I tend to prefer a mix of the both. I find that using just the sweetened ends up being too sweet, and then the unsweet don't really be given much at all. Whether or not you can coat these cookies in the shredded coconut before you freeze the individual dough balls, I don't have the answer to that. I just had it made up in my mind because I wasn't going to pre-roll the ginger cookies, that I also wasn't going to pre-roll these. But really, now that I sit and think about it, I don't think that coating these coconut cookies before you put them up will have a negative impact because I just don't think that coconut would get all wet and weird like sugar does. But again, I haven't tried it. If you tried it, come back and let us know. If not, I'm sure the next time that I run these cookies, I'm going to be trying to pre-coat because that would just save me a step when it's time to bake the cookies. You dig? So I think that's it. Those are all the cook notes that I have for the 6 different cookie recipes that I made. And then a quick note on how I make the cookie boxes extra special. So the first time that I did this, I made a QR code and I stuck it on the back of just like a regular gift tag. So it was maybe like this big, and I can't even remember what website I used to make that QR code, but it was really small and not really slapped together, but because it was a gift tag, I ended up having to cut out the QR code and glue it to the back. And this year, because I know more, I can do more. So I made these and put them in the boxes that got mailed. This is a larger QR code that I printed on cardstock and then used my corner rounder to make it like extra cute. And I just think that that was something really fun. Now the QR code links to a page that has a photo of the cookies, which is probably the thumbnail on this video. If not, I will insert it here in the atmosphere, but it links to that page and then also has links to each individual cookie recipe. First of all, I think it's super sweet and super special to receive baked goods in the mail. Like, I love that so much, and it just fills me with all the warm and cozies, right? But also to be able to equip people to then share those recipes in the ways that they see fit in their individual families and in their community is also just a little bit of icing on the cake for me. And considering that people are always on the search for new cookie recipes, like, why not? Why not? But I think that's the very last thing that I have to say. Oh, wait. In the comments below, tell me your top 2 favorite cookies. I was gonna say just one, but I feel like a lot of y'all gonna come in hot with that chocolate chip cookie. So give me 2, because there are so many cookies that I have yet to discover in the world, and one of y'all may very well name my next cookie adventure. But outside of that, thank y'all so very much for watching. I appreciate y'all so very much, and I will catch you in the next one.